if you imagine sitting on like a brick wall or on a bench and just seeing people walking past and no one doesn't pay attention to you.
To me, if someone said, what does it feel like to be lonely? I'd say, well, lonely, if that makes sense. I can't define it any more than that, because to me, loneliness is its own feeling.
Welcome to The Kind Place, a podcast series brought to you by the British Red Cross and On Our Radar. 1 in 5 people in the UK say they often or always feel lonely. The Red Cross Lonely and Left Behind report shows that almost 40% of adults haven't had a meaningful conversation in the last fortnight. As we enter the winter, with 1 in 3 saying loneliness is having an impact on their mental health, many people are feeling cut off and left behind. In this 6-part series, people experiencing loneliness get together to discuss what it actually means to be lonely, what it feels like, and what they're doing to get through it. In this episode, Laura and Phil meet up to talk through their experiences of being transgender and how they are working to get their voices heard in a society that often doesn't want to listen. This is the first time they have spoken to each other.
Hello?
Hello, that's better.
Right. Sorry.
No worries.
Right, we got there.
Technology.
What was your name? Sorry.
So I'm Laura.
And what are your pronouns?
She, her.
Cool. I'm Phil, and my pronouns are they, them.
Oh, cool. It's nice to meet you, Phil.
Cool, you too.
So if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been living as your new gender?
2.5 years. So I came out 2.5 years ago. Don't have any plans to medically transition, but been sort of what you'd call socially transitioning since then.
Yeah.
Just like changing my appearance, things like that. So changing my pronouns. So about 2.5 years. What about you?
When I was 17, I literally came out of the closet of being part of the LGBT community.
Did you know you were trans then, or?
I had an inkling of it, but I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
And living in a small village where they don't really like that kind of thing anyway.
There's just no education on it either.
Precisely. And what I found was then I had a falling out with my mum. So then I had to go in that through temporary accommodation. It was just a total nightmare.
So you've been homeless yourself?
I've actually been homeless 3 times.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So each time it's got actually a lot harder.
This might be a really stupid question, but like, do you feel more lonely when you're homeless than when you have a home?
You do. If you imagine yourself, I don't know if you've been homeless before.
No, I haven't. No.
No. So if you imagine sitting on like a brick wall,
Yeah.
or on a bench, and just seeing people walking past, but then if you actually look down onto the ground, that you then just see the feet walking past, and no one doesn't pay attention to you.
Right. That's how you feel.
Literally, you then have thoughts of like, well, no one's stopping to talk to me.
Yeah.
You then start going through those mindsets, which then can have an adverse effect with depression and mental health issues.
Yeah. Because there's quite a lot of homeless people where I live, and I work in a restaurant. So like when we have leftover food and stuff, I'll try and like give it to them and things like that. But in terms of, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with a homeless person, but like I literally wouldn't know what to say. Is there anything that you would have liked someone to when you were homeless?
So if it's for regular people who you walk past on a regular basis, it's just a basic stop, hello, and that to them, speak to them, but also ask their name as well. Because what a lot of people don't do is that they don't ask for their names. So if they don't see them around that for so long, and that you can't report them missing, and that because you don't know their name.
Yeah.
Then when you then start asking other homeless people, and that where they may be.
Yeah.
Because literally the homeless community does know each other really, really well. Even those basic things can solve a lot of the loneliness issues for them.
Yeah.
Then like they look like they actually start looking forward to actually seeing you again when that because you took that time for it.
Yeah.
The simplest things can make such a positive attitude and a positive change for a lot of them.
I think that can for anyone. So then, especially if you're homeless, like that makes total sense. And I know that something that I find really difficult with loneliness is that I go for lots of walks, and even if it's on a quiet day, there's a good chance I'll walk past a family or a group of friends hanging out, or like a couple and a child and things like that. And that can make me feel really lonely because I'm just like, well, I'm on my own and they're with someone, and I might have a little cry to myself. And so when you kind of said about being homeless and watching everyone walk past, that kind of reminded me of that. I was like, wow, if that's how I feel on a walk, imagine what it'd be like to have that all day long, every single day. Like, I reckon that would just intensify the loneliness so much.
Yeah.
Obviously, tell me if I'm prying, but why is it you feel lonely, or why do you think you struggle with that so much?
It's mostly due to Asperger's. So back in 2015, I got diagnosed later on in life. I'm 35 now, so getting on a little bit. So I got diagnosed with Asperger's, with epilepsy. So I've never really been massively good with speaking to people in general, but that's changed since last year. So I actually became a tour guide.
Oh, cool. Okay.
In Manchester.
Yeah.
I don't like crowds.
Okay.
And I don't really like people very often.
So was that quite a conscious decision where you were like, I'll throw myself at the deep end, face my fears, and then see if that helps?
Pretty much.
Has it like helped you feel more confident or less lonely, or?
It's made me feel a bit more confident, but it's just the fear of actually going to go down and actually do the tour.
Okay.
As well, because I don't know the people, because it's always different. And as being a male to female trans anyway, I don't know what people's views are until I actually get there.
Yeah. Do you get misgendered, things like that?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Or how does that affect you?
I deal with it in many different ways. I talk about it. I explain what's what with them. I always use the example of, how about you? Do you know that you should be born a male or a female?
Right.
And it's just, I just ask them, and they're like, well, we just do. It's like, well, there you go then. So don't ask me how I know, because I just do.
So I remember probably when I was about maybe 12, I was at home and I asked my dad if he'd play a game with me, and he said no because he was watching TV and he was too tired, and my mum was doing the same, and I like literally sat in the corner of the room crying, and they just kind of allowed it. They just allowed me to carry on crying, and I just thought, how can you not have more empathy in this moment and kind of spend more time with me and stuff? And so that made me feel quite lonely. So ever since, like I said, ever since I was about 13, loneliness has just kind of been a part of my life. And I find it really hard to describe that feeling, because when people say, oh, what does it feel like to be lonely? To me, loneliness is the feeling. So it's almost like, oh, what does it feel like to be happy? And it's like, well, it feels like being happy. And so to me, if someone said, what does it feel like to be lonely? I'd say, well, lonely, if that makes sense. Like I can't define it any more than that, because to me, loneliness is its own feeling. I started struggling with my mental health probably when I was about 13. Sort of found myself coming home, I don't know, maybe 3-4 days a week after school, and just like coming straight to my bedroom and just like crying my eyes out, because I was getting quite bullied at the time. So this is when I was identifying as female, but was like massive tomboy. So I would get bullied a lot for that. And then, just throughout the years, just a number of different things, from like self-harm feeling suicidal. Never been diagnosed with OCD, but I'm pretty sure I've had some kind of mild form of that. And then, when I was about 18, my sister convinced me to get therapy, which I was initially like dead against the idea, because I just thought, I can't cry in front of a stranger. That would be like the most embarrassing thing ever. But I went and I did cry, but it was fine. I got through it. I'm still here. And so I'm 28 now. So I've just been in and out of therapy for 10 years now. I'm in it right now. It definitely helps. But yeah, just like, I don't know, I'm not in the worst place I've ever been, but equally I'm not in the best. I do get sad, I do get lonely. Occasionally I still feel suicidal, but yeah, I mean, I wake up every day and I feel okay.
Thank you so much, Phil, for being so open.
It's funny because I never, ever, ever used to talk to anyone about it. Like, not even like, I was the kind of person where if friends were like, how are you? I'd be like, yeah, fine, thank you. And that could be a complete lie. And like, I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell anyone. And now it's kind of like, I talk about it all over social media. I'm like you said, just an open book. I have no fear in talking about it now, which is quite nice.
Oh yeah, it's the first step to tackle any form of mental health is actually being open about it and actually talking about certain things, and that to get people to listen in and
just to understand you better as well and understand how to support you. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you have your own community? Like, do you have like other trans friends or like an online community or anything like that?
So I'm actually on Facebook, about 4 different pages.
Oh, well, like LGBTQ plus pages?
Yeah, there's one for families, which I've actually joined. So if they're actually struggling with certain things, then I can then step in and say, look, have you thought about it doing this way, or have you thought about this? And then the other 3 is actually all the support stuff for me.
Do you find it helpful?
I do actually. I do actually read through a lot of the posts on there, and it's like, look, just keep your head up high and all that. You push through. Honestly, you would grow as a person.
I think that's good though. I think community doesn't have to necessarily be face to face. So like, I don't have any trans friends like at all. So any form of community I have is all online. So yeah, I think that needs to be I think some people need to be reminded like there's no shame in that, you know?
So I'm actually going to do like a two in one here with this one. So what makes you the happiest, and what are you hoping for your future?
Oh my God.
I know that they're two big questions there.
Happiness in life. It's tough because like I really struggle with my mental health, so it's quite difficult for me to feel happy. But just like laughing, when I'm like really laughing, that makes me feel really good. Or if I'm hanging out with my partner and we're having a really nice time, that makes me really happy. My future, like I said, I work in a restaurant. And I want to get out of there. So I am sort of writing an ebook at the moment about how to support trans people in the workplace.
Oh.
And I would like it so that I could go into workplaces and work through the ebook with them and kind of give them specifics of how they could make their business more inclusive to like trans staff and trans customers and things like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I do sort of like blogging and vlogging about gender related things. So my future would be, if you want to call it a career, then to have that kind of career and just be like happy, you know, with a partner, and that's kind of it. I'm quite, I don't know, a bit simple. I'm not after like marriage or anything like that. And not even, it would be nice to be happy, but like, I don't even necessarily need that. I just want to be okay. I just don't want to be sad. That would, and
yeah,
less lonely. That would kind of be ideal. I think something that's really helpful is if someone tells you that they're trans and like says these are my pronouns and things like that. It's not just about saying the pronouns because that's what the trans person wants to hear. It's about actually trying to think of that person as the gender that they're telling you they are. So what I mean by that is there are people at work who I know think of me as female, and I can just tell because of like certain terms of endearment that they use towards me and things like that, and they treat me like one of the girls. And it's very obvious that they only sort of say like they and them because they're obviously thinking, oh, that's what Phil wants to be called, I'll humour them, I'll say that, but they're obviously still a girl. But actually, if they made the conscious effort to think of me in a different light, and that can take a long time, don't get me wrong, like I've vaguely known of trans people like on social media who have come out, and it's taken me maybe like a good year to actually see them as the person that they really are, because I've known them a different way. But I think if you, whether it be looking at pictures of them, of what they used to look like compared to now, whether it be talking to them and being like, hey, how do you feel? And can you tell me a bit more about, you know, your gender identity and whatever it may be, I think just making a conscious effort to, like with someone like me, even if you think I'm female, just almost like telling yourself, like, Phil is not a woman, and just like thinking of me as the person that I'm telling you I am.
It is really amazing to actually speak to someone who is wanting to change things actually for the better.
Thanks.
And take care. Stay safe.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
We've set up a loneliness line to hear from people around the country and create conversations that connect. If you would like to get involved, please send us a message in confidence to 07593 220 510 with your name and number, and we'll get back to you. And be the first to hear future episodes of the podcast. Just search for The Kind Place in your favourite podcast app and click subscribe. This project was funded by DCMS and produced by Paul Miles, Chris Walter and Pete Norton. Thanks for listening.